Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. We are on the air. This is Thesis.
3, 2, 1, we are on the air. This is Thesis. Everything is everything. I am your host, Jay Marie. How's it going out there, folks? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for showing up and hanging out with us today. Coming to you live from Zombie Land. Yes, sir. Well, I want to thank you for showing up and hanging out with us today, checking in on us today. I hope you find yourself well, safe, and healthy. And I'm here. It's been a minute. It's funny because I always say that, and and I do stretch it out a little bit. But this time I had a reason because I actually had surgery about, I think it's been 5 weeks now. I had surgery, and it knocked me out of the game for a while. So that's why this pause has been a little longer than normal. But I am here, and I want to thank you for checking in on us. So, all right. Well, yeah. Since the surgery, now we're gonna get into the surgery too much, but I had to get a little. We talked about, a year ago that we had an episode where I talked about fear and then I had a procedure done and all that. Well, all of that came back and we had to like really get in there. They had to remove a piece of my body. So, but I am good now. Like I'm healthy. I'm healing up. My wound is almost good to go. And but I had a lot of time to think. I had a lot of time to sit back. Well, for a few weeks, I really couldn't think of much because of just the pain, and then of course the pain medicine and everything just kind of knocks you out. I mean, knocks you for a loop. You got time to be thinking about anything in depth or anything. But now, as I've been back to work for a few weeks now, and moving around and everything has really helped kind of get all the you know juices flowing, what I'm saying, all the mental fluids and all of that going to where we start thinking again the way of ideas and all these things, right? And so I was kind of getting a little worried because I'm thinking like, okay, the pause has been so quite a nice pause, and I'm like, well, how am I gonna come back, or what are we gonna talk about? And kind of worried a little bit about how to, what are we gonna talk about, and right? But I started thinking, man, look, it's when you don't know what to do, right? Like for instance, how we're gonna come back, what are we gonna do, what are we gonna say, whatever. Stick to principles. You can never go wrong with principles. It's kind of like coming back from an injury or coming back from surgery or whatever. You start, you can't go right back to work, and you can't go right back to doing, heavy lifting and all this stuff. You got to take it easy. You got to, focus on the things that are going to keep you safe and healthy or whatever, right? Like principles, right? Starting points. So I said, okay. So throughout the week, I've been, just kind of, I don't really work off of notes, but I got my little notepad, and I just been writing down these little words, phrases and stuff to kind of things that I, might want to talk about, right? And one thing that I've learned doing this for a while now is that once we get going, it's kind of like the faucet gets open, and once once the water starts flowing, then it's okay. But I just need to have ideas in front of me, so we can have something to explore and examine, But we won't just be kind of, because I don't have a specific topic like in other circumstances where we're going to come in and talk about, religion or whatever, But seeing how like I said, okay, well, let's just go back to first principles, let's just go back to that, and we'll start from there. So I figured that's kind of like, it's kind of like what we're going to talk about a little bit, first principles, but in a different way, not in a religious manner. But you know how we do here. We'll throw in some religion, we'll throw in some history and modern politics and stuff that's going on around us and everything like that, So like, we could get some ideas out there and get the the juices flowing a little bit, right? Well, so so there's a lot of stuff going on outside of this, right, in the world today. As that, and it would be really easy for me to come here and talk about, oh, this decision that the courts did, or this issue on this side, or you know, there's a lot of that out there, and that's fine. There's plenty of people who have their shows or their channels or whatever, and that's what they do, and that's what they talk about. Fine. I want to try to, it's not like dig underneath it, but go back to the root of a lot of the causes of these things. We talk a lot about individualism and self-responsibility and motivation and all that stuff here, like to get ourselves in order, because once we get ourselves in order, then things around us, start getting in order too. As that, so without, we'll see if we'll go into specific things, once the words start flowing, then you never know, right? But there's so much stuff going on in the world that it's like really confusing. Now look, first and foremost, I don't watch cable news. I don't watch Fox. I don't watch CNN. I follow certain news outlets that I trust, that I've been following for a while, and not even outlets, specific personalities or whatever who I trust to bring me, things that are going on in the federal government, let's say, or in the world. I don't trust big media companies. I don't trust Fox. I don't trust CNN because, we've talked about their revenue streams and all that, and they're part of the problem, because they don't report things accurately. Anyhow, so I know what's going on out there, and I could come and talk about, the decision that the court made, for instance, right? But, we can probably trying to find a way to talk about that thing, right? But without getting all specific about it, because then it becomes like a bickering, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, look, first and foremost, there's things that have always worked. There's things that work, we have, you can go to the pharmacy and pick some things out, to help with that, But promiscuity can become a problem. We all know that. We talk about it. Our parents told us about it. Our grandparents told our parents about it, about promiscuity. That's not good, right? It's not good. Why? Because there could be some unintended consequences, especially if you are, not being responsible with yourself, But there's, abstinence, right? Like, don't do it, right? Chastity, whatever. Be chaste. Like, don't, So there's all these things that could be done to avoid getting to that point to where, this horrible decision has to be made, because everybody agrees that it's a horrible decision, That's one point that I think all sides can say, yes, that point of making that choice is a horrible one, But getting to that point was many choices before that. It doesn't just happen. You didn't just wake up and, oops, what's this? No. We make choices and decisions of everyday behavior that lead us to a certain place. So we make good and positive choices that will lead us in the right way. If we're thinking correctly, if we're preparing, if we're doing the things that we have to do, preemptively, we won't get to that point to where we have to make this, future-altering, life-altering decision. And it's scary because of the, whenever something like this happens, there's always political, not ramifications, but, in the streets and protests and, some of the personalities or content creators or whatever that I follow, they'll go into some of these rallies or protests or whatever and talk to the people, or try to talk to the people, try to get a sense of what it is that they're thinking and whatever. And man, some of this hatred and anger and vileness and saying stuff that no self-respecting normal person would want to hear or accept, listening to, vile things about. I don't even want to say them, but you can look, you can search YouTube and you can find these videos about the Women's March or about whatever march, and you can see people, and listen to them in their own words. And there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of hate and anger. Hate towards religious people, Hate towards white men that shouldn't be deciding whatever. Hate and anger and resentment. Where does this come from and why? Towards, you know what I'm saying? Why all that anger and hatred and vileness focused in on, not the white man, not the decision, but the process and the, what's going on inside the body. Vile and angry and hatred and disgusting, horrible, horrible, horrible things. How do we get there? How did we get there? When when you study, when you get into studying like philosophy, of course, but also like psychology and those type of things, and therapy, you start understanding certain things because, like for instance, when we deflect, not accepting responsibility, not accepting accountability for our actions, right? Not just on, like, for instance, what we're talking about right now, but in all kinds of instances. There seems to be, out of a lot of these folks who have this fervor and this anger and this vileness towards these things, as that there seems to be a lack of accountability towards the issue, like for 2 years we had riots and BLM and all this stuff, and stuff was on fire. And some of you out there, friends of mine that are probably watching this video right now, all over your Instagrams, all over your Facebooks, all over your Twitters, cursing out your family members and cursing out those who don't go with, and you were blocking people and you were blocking grandma and you were, remember, y'all were doing that stuff, talking smack about anybody who didn't accept, and you couldn't even say all lives matter and all this stuff. And now 2 years later, it's all out there. But if you haven't heard, it's all out there about the money that they've raised, and they got mansions and all this. Where's the help that in the community? They didn't do anything they just got rich. They used all of you. They used a lot of you, those of you who donated, those of you who supported, those of you who bought t-shirts and plaques and stuff and put on your yard and all that. All that money that got raised, you got used for somebody who wanted to get rich. And now they got mansions and cars, and they got a slush fund of millions and billions of dollars from the NFL and from all these companies. And now what? Where are they? Where's the help? What did they do? Nothing. You got used. You look like an idiot and a fool on your Instagrams and on your Facebooks and on your Twitters, cussing out anybody who wouldn't go along. And look where we are now. You justified burning down buildings. You justified looting. You justified attacking people. You justified attacking police. You justified burning down cities, all for a sham on you, on us. Because once you start learning these things, you start seeing is that these folks need you to be angry. And I mean these folks, politicians, whoever. When you see them on the TV talking, whether it's a politician, whether it's a city leader, a community leader, whatever, you hear them and see them all the time. We don't got to throw names out there. You see them and hear them all the time. And what do they come out? They always come out saying the same thing. They rile people up about skin color. They rile people up about gender. They rile people up about race. Depending on the situation, they tailor the message to the situation. You know, if it was a black cop shooting an unarmed black man, then he was some sort of sellout, or it's the system is racist. You know, if it was a white cop shooting an unarmed black man or an unarmed Latino man or whatever, then he's a racist white cop. And then you won't hear the stories about, you know, see, this is the problem, is when we start getting into colors and race and all this thing, it just makes everything more ridiculous. You know? You are more than your skin color. You are more than your gender. You are more than your background. You know, you are more than where your parents came from. You are more than what you were, than what your family was 300 years ago. You are more than that. Don't see yourself as that. That makes yourself a character. You're making yourself into a caricature of something. You are not a gender. You know, you are not a skin color. You are not a you know, what is it? Like, you're Latino or black or whatever. You're not, you know what I'm saying? You're not a race. You're not, you know what I'm saying? You're a person. That's you know, that's worthy of dignity and respect. If you give it, you know, if you give it out too, of course. If you don't respect, if you go around hitting people, if you go around robbing and being disrespectful or whatever, then of course people are going to reciprocate and you are going to get what happens. You know, it's no wonder some of you out there, it's no wonder that your life is all messed up. It's no wonder that every single day you're having arguments with people. Every single day you're running into something. Every single day something's going on at work, at home, on the way home, with your family members. Every single day there's something. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always them picking on you. It's always your you know, the people you date. It's always them. If you have problems with everyone you date, it's always them. They're the ones with the problem all the time. It's always somebody else's problem. If you say that constantly, you need to start saying, it's probably me. It's not a coincidence that every single person you date, you have problems with. Could that, you know, possibly be that all the men, all the women that you date are crazy, or, you know, is that what it is? Or could it be that you have problems that you need to deal with, so others, you know, will like you a little better? Could that possibly be? Lack of accountability. You know, lack of us telling ourselves, well, what am I doing wrong? You know? It's hard. It's hard to look inward. It's easy to look outward and to point outward and to blame and to that one and this one. And it's hard. I mean, that's easy. The pointing and blaming, that's easy. But it's hard to look inward and saying, damn, I think I'm wrong, right? In whatever situation it may be. To blame others and all that, that's, you know, there's no wisdom in that. You know, you're not a hero, you're not nothing, you're not tough, you're nothing. When you blame others and you're like the weakest, you know, we can't even tell the truth to yourself, right? If we can't tell the truth to ourselves, then what are we doing out here, right? Common sense. Like, what happened to common sense? You know, I despise TikTok. I can't stand TikTok. When somebody sends me TikTok, I don't watch it. I don't open it. I can't stand them. I call it sick talk because it's ridiculous. Like the crazy stuff that people do on there. Now, of course, you're gonna come across some of these videos through your news feed, or, you know, on your feed in your YouTube channel. You know, certain people that you follow or whatever. And yeah, I've seen some. You know, you cannot have not seen any. And it's just like, what happened? It's like all reasoning, all logic has been thrown out the window. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I got to be very careful here. But look, we can't teach kids about Christ in school, or religion, or Bibles, or Buddhism or anything like that, right? In school, you can't teach kids about religion, right? But you can teach them about gender and whatever, right? So, so common sense would say, no, 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 no. Okay, if you can't teach one thing, then how about let's not teach the other, right? But one is labeled religion and the other is, I don't know what is labeled. But logic, reason, and common sense would say that is way out of line. You know? So this is where we're at. You know, there's videos that come across the thing, and you know, some other, you know, they got dudes clowning, like they got libs of TikTok that this chick, she puts these videos together from TikTokers that are teachers, that are, you know, influencers, that are, and they're like literally saying what they do and what they teach children. Like stuff that you'd be like, whoa, you're teaching my kids that? Like if my children were in school and I saw a video of my child, my kids are grown, they're adults. But if my child was in school and I saw a video of my child's teacher saying some of these things that they're saying on some of these videos, I'd be at that school in a minute, in a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? So something's wrong. Something's wrong, and when you can't say it, or when you get punished, right? If people are getting punished for speaking out about it, punished in different ways, that's like, okay, so it silences people, right? Because they don't want to say nothing, because the mafia, right? It's like an alphabet mafia. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? That kind of reminds me of something that so we study history a lot here, right? And the Soviet Union, they had, it's like, if you can imagine the federal government, they had states, but the federal government was in full control of every single aspect of everything that the states did. You know, but the power resided in the state, but it was the party that was in control of the state. So everything that was done for the state, it was done for the party. You know, they had the party commissions and the party, you know, like it was about the party. Yeah, communism, socialism, whatever, the Soviet Union, right? But it was the party. All of it was done for the party. You spoke against the party, your business would get shut down. You'd get disappeared. You'd get sent to the gulag. You know? Like that. They'd shut your business down. They'll take your money. They arrest you and your families and whatever, right? That's unfeathered power in the hands of tyrannical masterminds, you know. But under the party platform, so it's not just like the government. Yes, the government did it, but who was in control of that government? This party, the Communist Party, right? They took over. They used to have elections. They used to whatever, right? They had parties, whatever, Bolsheviks, whatever. But the Communist Party took over the government and all that it controlled. And what did they do? They brought down their iron fist upon the entirety of the land. So they had states and they had governors in each state, but those states, the governors in those states and in those Soviet commissions, what are they called? They didn't have the power. The power resided in the main as the, so you know, I keep saying these words, federal government, but that's so you can understand, you know, what we're talking about. The main force of the government. But the party controlled it, and if you spoke against the party, you will get canceled. You will get, you know, your money will be taken. You will be arrested. You will be shut down. That tactic sounds very familiar. You know, you can't speak against certain things. I mean, ask about the election, right? Raise questions about the election. No, you can't. Right? Why? Because it's settled. It's been debunked, right? We just spent 2 years of shutdowns and masks and all of that, and then back to some of you out there. Some of y'all were Nazi masks, motherfuckers. I gotta tell you, man. You were out there the same way that people were out there with the BLMs and all of that shit. We had the masks, people, and they'll put your mask on or shut down. They were fine with shutdowns. They were fine with masks. They were fine with people being arrested. They were fine with all that. Some of you out there, you were fine with that and probably still are. Everything's back to normal, and what? So is everything cool now? That those people that went to jail, should they be let out? Should the charges be dropped, or is it, or what I'm saying? So back to principles. It's like, so if you stand on your principles, then these things aren't going to change. And fine. If you stand on your principle that, okay, the mask, and you're still standing on it, fine. Okay, but you're wrong let's say on a liberty, scale, right? But okay, fine, you're principled. But there's principles, there's beginnings. In the inner cities, we have a lot of crime, right? And these city officials can't ever seem to figure out why we have crime. They'll blame policing, or they'll blame those type of things, and not really point blame to where it belongs, in the criminals, in the individual who's creating crime, who's doing crimes, who's causing crimes, who's hurting each other, right? And so it goes back to like a society. Should we sit back and accept this behavior in our neighborhoods? And we say no, right? So we wouldn't accept that behavior from our children. We wouldn't accept that behavior from our grandchildren, right? So why should we accept that behavior as a society, as a community, But when you hear individuals like in the city or community leaders or whatever, not pointing at the problem, but pointing away from the problem at cops or at laws or at the system or whatever, the problem lies in the individual who's creating the crime, right? I used to do crime. I used to sell drugs. We would steal, we did a lot of stuff, a lot of it, all the time. The criminal thinks differently, The criminal isn't worried about laws. The criminal isn't worried about, background checks or whatever it is, The criminal is worried about making money and taking, whatever the mission is. That's what the criminal is doing. But even before the criminal becomes a criminal, there's a process for that child to get to that place to where he's stealing, where he's breaking into houses, where he's beating people up, he or she. There's a process. The home, the child isn't born a murderer. The child isn't born a gangster. The child isn't born a drug dealer, right? So when we go way back, there's a place where all of this began, a home. What happened in that home? Was there a mother and a father? What and how did those parents raise that child, right? What influences did that child have? Those type of things. Because a child doesn't become this automatically. It happens over time, from what he sees and what he experiences, what he's told. The influencing of a child at a young age. If he's around drug dealers when he's young, if he's around gangsters when he's young, that's all he's gonna know. Some of these neighborhoods in California, they are so deeply embedded in certain gang culture, like this neighborhood and then that neighborhood, and it's like everyone in that neighborhood, like the majority of the people, the women, the girls, the boys, the men, everybody is like part of the clique. It's like ingrained and enrooted in their, I don't know, in their DNA, but they're in those neighborhoods, and they're okay with the killing of each other and the gang banging or whatever, because they're still doing it. When we continue our bad behavior for long periods of time and then stuff happens, there's no, Who you gonna blame? Right? Who you gonna point to? Who you gonna point? Who you gonna point to and blame when this finally comes crashing down on you? Right? So when these things happen, whether it's a police shooting in a neighborhood or somebody gets shot because they were fighting or whatever, there's all this anger and there's all this heartbreak and of course all of that stuff. But we bring it upon ourselves, because it just takes one person in a family to break that cycle, that chain, to not allow that child to become the gang member when he's 11 years old, to get out of that neighborhood, to think differently, to break yourself free, to break ourselves free from them chains that enslave our minds. Because that's the worst part is what we have in here. If all we know is gangbanging, if all we know is drug dealing, right? If all we know is hood, if all we know is these things that we kind of we kind of raise up like, oh, I'm hood, I'm real, all this dumb shit. Real is get your ass to work. Real is get your head in some books, learn some stuff, advance yourself. That's real. That's real. Keeping it real. We've been keeping it real for so long. Look where we're at. We ain't gone nowhere. We ain't done nothing. And then when some people come out and try to do something, they are demeaned. They are clowned. They are seen as sellouts or whatever. Like I've been called an Uncle Julio. That shit was funny. I was laughing. You know what I'm saying? Because that's stupid. I mean, I had to, it was, there's a lot of stuff that's out there that people think is wisdom, but it's actually poison, vile, and it needs to be called out. It needs to be called out. If we don't, those of us who have the ability to articulate, somewhat these words properly to call out some of these folks, because some of these folks think they're smarter than you, and they're willing and counting on your ignorance, so you won't see that they're trying to, they use fancy words or they try to, you know what I'm saying? But you can awaken your mind by searching, by digging, by learning some things. If you just stand there, it's never gonna be. I can point things out to you. I can show them to you. I can show you the books. I can open the books. I can show you in Plato or in the scriptures or in the history books or whatever. And I can say, look what happened. Look, it's right here. I can show you to your face. You're not gonna ever find it. You're not even gonna believe it if I'm showing it to you. Until you decide to dig it and find it for yourself, there has to be that spark inside of you that says, awaken your heart and go look for the answers to that things. Maybe there is some truth to what somebody told you about, whatever the hell's going on out there, that you're being lied to from the TV screens, that they're lying to you, that they just want to maneuver you to. Because look, why the hell do we constantly got to be fighting each other? Skin color, this, that. Why? We're neighbors. We work together. We drive on the same freeways. We eat at the same restaurant. Yet when you turn on the TV and then, you hear these pundits, these news pundits, these community leaders talking about the white man and how bad the white man is, and the white people this and the white people that, and colonization and how bad America is, and the South and Jesus. It's always something pointing, and it's always on the negative end. It's like a death cult, screaming about horrible things in front of the Supreme Court. Horrible things. It's like a death cult. Everything is on the negative. Everything is bad. Everything is negative. Nothing looks towards the good. Nothing ever points towards the light. Everything is always slavery. Everything is always Columbus killed the Indians. Then the white man killed the Indians. Then the poor Indians don't got shit today. Then this used to be Mexico's land. There's never anything good enough for some of these folks. There's never anything good enough. Now, as a philosopher, as a philosophy oriented mind, you have to beware when you hear a person speaking of constant negativity and pointing at the negative in everything. That should be a clue, a hint. Stay away from that person. And don't listen to what they say. Why? Because everything is on the negative. There is never anything good to speak of, to point to. Full of resentment and anger of what? For something that happened 500 years ago, 600 years ago, 300 years ago. You're mad? You're mad? There's nothing wise. There's nothing wise in pointing at it. Now, as historians, I'm a historian. I read history, but I don't let it enrage me. This used to be Mexico's land. What the fuck? Who cares? History is wrought with conquering of lands. In 100 years and 200 years, maybe somebody will conquer us and this won't be America anymore. Maybe somebody will conquer Mexico again and it won't be Mexico no more. That's just the way things are. That's just the way history works. It's always worked that way. It always has. But getting our children angry and getting our people angry because, oh, this used to be Mexico and one day we're going to take it back. Have you been to Mexico? Have you seen the laws? Have you read their constitution? Do you know there's only 2 gun stores in Mexico? And good luck on trying to get a permit to buy a gun. But cartels have them. Everybody else has them. All the criminals have them. Except the law-abiding citizen doesn't. Okay? So, you want that here? You know what I'm saying? Like, people say stuff without thinking. They just pop off and say things because they want to, whatever. TikTok, whatever, Instagram, they want to be on. I don't know. They just want to hurt people. They want to say the most vile things. That's horrible. That's disgusting. But use your head when you speak. Think things through. Don't step up to somebody, because look, I've always, tried to teach and show that we arm ourselves when we learn all these things, all these different things that we can learn, philosophy, history, science, all these different things. We're arming ourselves. We are arming ourselves like with bullets, but of information. I know what I know because I've dove deep into these things for 15 years now. I've dedicated my life to these things. Not just philosophy, not just history, not just religion, but politics also. That is what we are doing here. I don't have to come here every day and talk about Ocasio-Cortez or the Senate or whatever. I could come here and talk about you and what we could do to better ourselves. Because when you better yourself, everything around you changes. But it changes incrementally in little bits and pieces. But you have to do the work. You want your neighborhood to change? You have to change. You. One at a time. Each and every one of us. There's books out there. You can read. You can audiobook. You can just listen while you're driving. Educate yourself. Educate your mind. It's heartbreaking. I see videos of guys robbing stores and getting shot because, thankfully the store owner had a gun and he defended himself. That person that ran in that store with a gun, he was led to that place, but because of how he was raised or what they taught him or the lack of, teaching from a parent, from a grown-up, from a father, from whatever the hell is going on out there. We have to start with ourselves, but we have to educate ourselves. But we got to work on ourselves too, internally. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard formulating a message in a way that is digestible. You know, because you could come, like, how people are like sometimes really religious, like they could come at you really man, like, ah, man, I don't want to hear that. And so even also like on the political spectrum or on the philosophical spectrum, it's kind of, you got to be gentle. You got to formulate your words properly to get these messages across. Now, like for instance, the Christ, he would speak in a certain way. He would use parables. He would use metaphors and stuff like that, because of the powers that be. If they would have heard the stuff that he was saying, they would have arrested him right away. You know, because in their mind, anything that goes, and it's not that what he was saying goes against their rule, but when the individual rules over himself, it is less, it is harder to be ruled from without, right? When the individual knows himself, when the individual is strong at heart and willed and knows himself and loves and is prepared for war, but at the same time is a peace. All these things that make because look, the Christ, any tyrannical government throughout history has always outlawed religion, has always outlawed philosophy, and took away the philosophers and took away the teachers, and anything that would go against the ruling structure, right? Because you can't have a free mind, you can't think freely, let's say through religion, because then at some point you're gonna get an idea. You're gonna get ideas of, hey, these people are really ruling over us, right? So they would shut down dissent, they would shut down religion, they would burn the Bibles, and they would arrest people or whatever, right? Because they didn't want people to learn. Hey, they didn't want you to know what was in that book, right? Metaphorically, because stuff that's in that book can set you free, right? Can set your mind free, can set yourself free. Not, yes, from the authorities, but more from yourself, from the world, right? And you can't have that as the power over the people. You can't have that. You can't have people thinking for themselves. You can't have people questioning your authority. You can't have people, going against what you dictate to them. You can't have people saying anything different than what you have already stated, being the authorities. So what do? They think about it. Think about it. They shut channels down, right, on the platforms. They shut channels down. They block content from getting out. People get fired from companies or whatever for something that they said. So all focused on whatever is going against the message of the authority. Whether it's the sickness and shots or whatever, or elections, or riots, or many, many other things, like inflation, gas prices, the number of aborted fetuses since that day back in the 70s. There's stuff that the powers that be don't want you to know. They rather you be ignorant. They need you to be ignorant. Because an educated populace, a well-educated populace, is hard to rule over, to subjugate more precisely. So the powers that be, and not just here at home, but all over the world, you can see it. The powers that be are afraid, because you're learning too much. You're asking too many questions, and you can't have that. They can't have that. But you can tread lightly. You can walk gingerly. you use, you know, common sense, of course, as that. But if there's a way to communicate uh, without being direct, the Christ was really good at it. Using metaphors and those type of things. That's there. But what we want to do is be aware of what's going on around us, right? And I'm not just we don't you know I don't just want to sit back, right? By what we do here is I figure is I am doing my part by going in a little bit deeper than the surface, right? The politics that we see on TV or on streaming services or whatever, the politics that we see on Facebook and all that, that's surface stuff. And fine, that has to be dealt with. And we've been in this for years, for many years. But we're gonna go underneath that. What we're doing here is we're going underneath that stuff. But this is part of it. The politics is part of it. Because when we better ourselves, yeah, our cities will get better because we're gonna be making better choices because we're gonna stop letting these silver-tongued politicians smooth talk us into voting for them because of something they're gonna give us or because they point out to us that the white man is this or the whatever, right? Feeding on our emotions and stuff, right? We're we I say we because I'm part of this. I'm learning still, but you out there too, you are learning too. You are in this process of awakening. Find your channels of folks who are doing, like I don't. Look, I was looking in YouTube, just kind of getting some analytics and stuff, and it was saying like, oh, here's how you can get a lot more subscribers and views, right? And one of the things that it said was like, don't worry about quality, but what is it? Content over quality. Not content over quality. Quantity over quality. Upload. Don't worry if they're good or not. Just upload a bunch of videos. And sure, I see some channels that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and all they do is reaction videos, right? And fine, a lot of them folks are learning, because some of they're reacting to, let's say, stuff that we've, that I've learned, let's say, before because we've been in this for a minute. But it's good because at the same time while they're learning, others are learning along with them. Now, but what I was gonna get to is that, I I prefer quality over quantity. Like I don't want to just come on here and speak just to speak, you know. Now I've been out of the game for a minute, so right now we're getting the track a little oiled up, you know what I'm saying? And I need to so I needed to kind of we're kind of like push starting right now, right? But when it comes to YouTube, like I'm not gonna do, I'm not gonna do anything like that where it's like reaction videos or anything like that because I want to dive into deep ideas and stories of history and like we do of religion and all that stuff, because there's so much there that I love to talk about, that I've learned so much, and I think that it can give us it can teach us about ourselves and give us some clues about where we can go with ourselves and in our communities also. I'll just end on with this. Look, after whatever's going on out there in society, right? One thing that will help us keep our feet planted firmly is love. Love each other, love your neighbor, love your mom, love your parents, love those that you work with. Be kind to them. Be the best person that you can be. That's it. Don't lie. Don't lie. Don't lie to yourself. We want to get further, you got to start digging. You got to start searching. You got to start reading. You got to start listening. You got to start looking for the answers, for the truth. Not just the answers, because plenty of people have the answers. but they don't have the truth. But you got to dig to find the truth. It's not going to be it ain't going to be placed right in front of you. And then even if it was, you won't believe it. You have to find it for yourself. Don't participate in the lie. The world can be on fire out there. The lie on the screen it's there. It's bright. It's big. It's right in front of us. Don't participate in it. Live your life. Love each other. Work hard. Strive for something better. Stay focused on what you want to do. Don't get distracted by hate and anger, by all these screaming voices coming from the sides, pointing at people's skin color and pointing at people's genders and all this stuff to try to rile you up, to get angry about some political nonsense. We could do better than that. We can love each other. We can help each other. And that's what we want to do here. That's what I strive to do every single day in my neighborhood, with my friends and my neighbors and my coworkers and the people that are down the street at the 7-Eleven, the homeless guys from the neighborhood. I want to do the best that I can, and I try my best. Not because I'm waiting for some reward or I'm going to get something back. No, because that's what we have to do. If I want my community to be uplifted, if I want, my community to be better, I have to do my part, and I try every single day to do that. And I ask that you do the same. But through reason, logic, through principles, through things that we know have worked for ages. Let's follow that path that has shown us this is the way. Love each other. Be strong in your mind. Be strong-willed in the heart. We can accomplish anything when we do that. Yes, we can. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. Man, I am so sorry, for real. I got knocked, the surgery knocked me down, and I'm getting the flow, feeling it a little bit, getting back on it. Now, of course, even though I wasn't on here, I was actively on Facebook and on YouTube. So I'm going to ask you if you would like to please go over to our Facebook and our YouTube and subscribe there, because when I am not here, there's plenty of stuff going on over there on that side. So those links will be in the description. And so I hope you do that for us. Help us get our numbers a little bit higher on YouTube. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you for hanging out with us today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm roughing it through, but we're getting there. We're on our way back. I got a lot of stuff, going on. Starting to think a little bit more about these things. So, I will be here again soon. But please subscribe on our Facebook, on our YouTube, so you won't miss anything. In the meantime, folks, I want you to stay safe. I want you to stay healthy, please. Keep educating yourself, all right? Because that's the way we're going to change our neighborhoods, all right? What else? Oh, if this is your first time here, you're going to want to hit the subscribe button, because we don't put out content every day. Tell your friends, share, all of that. Rate us on Spotify. Give us a good rating. That helps the algorithms. That's it. Don't forget to go over to our YouTube and check out all our channels, all our videos, and all the other stuff on our Facebook channel. All right, guys, I love you. I want you to stay safe out there. That's it. Stay safe and healthy, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace out, folks.
This is Thesis.